Welcome to Reading, Writing, and Critical Thinking Strategies, a podcast series built to support our Quinsigamond Community College students. Thanks for watching. Today's topic: making connections to what you read. Welcome, and thank you for watching today's podcast. Please remember, each podcast is meant to refresh, rejuvenate, and recharge your brain with all the essential information we learned in class. Comprehending what you read is not just important, it's downright critical in college. Many students, however, seem to struggle with reading. In fact, students often have a lot of complaints about reading, such as,
"It's boring.
I don't understand.
It's boring.
I have read it, but I don't get it."
If you can relate to these students, perhaps mastering a couple reading comprehension skills will help you become a better and more effective reader. And that's something that's good for you. Throughout this podcast series, we'll be talking about many different reading skills. Today, we're going to investigate 5 simple tasks you can do on your own that will help you to better understand and appreciate reading fictional stories. Remember, a fictional story is literature that's not real or true. The story's made up and likely includes characters, setting, plot, and conflict. Be sure to watch my podcast titled How to Read a Textbook for hints on reading nonfiction. Okay, you ready? First, prepare yourself for reading. Be comfortable and dedicate time for reading. This means no cell phones. No cell phones. No cell phones. Just you in the story. Oh, and it's completely fine to use a dictionary to look up the meanings of words. Okay, I realize there's probably a dictionary on your cell phone, but I beg you, try to use a dictionary made out of paper. It's just good for you. Oh yes, absolutely. Get a pen and paper to write down notes. Every time you read, you need to write notes. As you begin to read, think about the following questions. Think about these 5 questions as you read. Number 1. Is there a situation in this story that reminds you of something you've experienced? Is there a situation in this story that reminds you of something you've experienced? Number 2. How does the main character or any character in the story remind you of yourself? List as many of the traits and qualities you share with a character in the story. Think hard. I bet there's a lot. How does the main character or any character in the story remind you of yourself? Number 3. The setting of the story is the place and time where the story takes place. As you read, write down a few details about what the setting looks like to you. Have you seen a place like it in your mind? Have you seen a place like it ever in your life? Number 4. Does this story remind you of another story you've read? Does it remind you of a movie you've seen? How is it the same? How is it different? Does this story remind you of another story you've read? Number 5. How do the events in the story remind you of events taking place in the real world? Give an example or two. How do the events in the story remind you of events taking place in the real world? Let's review the 5 questions you need to ask yourself as you read. Relate a situation in the story to something you've experienced. Compare a character to yourself. Search around at the setting. Compare the story to another story you've read. Relate an event in the story to an event in real life. Each one of these steps will help you make personal connections with the story you read. Be sure to take notes and don't rush through. Your task is not to hurry, but to comprehend. Reading, Writing, and Critical Thinking Strategies, a podcast series built to support our Quinsigamond Community College students. Thanks for watching.